Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Singularity podcast, only Singleplayer's official podcast for single-player topics. I'm your host, J. Scott Brown, as always joined by some lovely single-player counterparts, Alexis Tamari and Josh Atkinson. Hello, lads.
Hey, JJ.
Yo, yo. What's up?
What's up?
Nothing much, man.
Josh is napping.
Josh is napping. As he's napping, I'll go through the topics real quick so we can get
just
stuck into the discussion. He just woke up.
I just woke up. I just had me a little kip.
Yeah, welcome to the show, man. There you go. He's awake. He's alert. The topics
after the last one, I fell asleep.
I'm trying desperately to get to the show topics. Can I do it?
What?
Right.
No. Okay, fine.
No?
Okay. Today's topics we're going to be talking about. Rainbow Six Siege has no campaign. So we'll talk about that, and the beta's running at the moment, so we'll talk about kind of where that game is at the moment and the idea of it having no campaign, whether or not it's going to be worth it or not. Then we'll touch on the no GTA single-player DLC, which was hinted at by a number of games media sites earlier in the week, that there was no... Thank you for your sound effects, they're excellent.
Yep.
That there was
Keep
no...
going.
Staff working on any more single-player content for the game. And finally, we'll conclude with our experiences with horror games. Guys, Rainbow Six Siege, now you guys can talk. And it's fine.
The overall thing for this podcast this week is that devs ain't giving. That seems to be the thing.
There's a common
No
theme.
DLC story.
There you go. So I guess, the closed betas are going at the moment. Josh, I think you've had a lot more experience with than me. I only got a key this morning, so I played a little bit. I haven't had too much time to really delve into it, but from what I've played, it's pretty fun. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts you want to share to premise the discussion?
It's okay, I guess. I mean, the thing that I was really looking forward to was playing like the old classic style of Rainbow Six. You know, how you had to go in a team and take down the AI. Like, they've literally just brought out the terrorist hunt mode, and I haven't been able to get that go yet. But this is the thing, because originally they were supposed to have a story with it, and then they've just gone and said, as they bring out the terrorist hunt mode, oh yeah, by the way, you get a little training mode, and this is it. Have fun!
That's single player.
And yeah, and I'm sure they said, there was literally a quote I heard like a few months ago where they said, we're going to have like a campaign where you get like one of these characters that you get to unlock and stuff, and then take them through like some form of story to warm you up. I mean, this is the thing, they said you're going to warm up to the multiplayer, but I didn't think it was going to be a training mode. That was going to be it.
So this news does bother you, the idea that no campaign for this game?
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be like, what, 3 or 4 modes and that's it? It's kind of like Evolve all over again.
Yeah.
Which sucks. But Evolve had a campaign. Now, have a campaign partially with cutscenes. So if they will just lazily put like a cutscene at the start. Because if you play the beta, it does say, cutscenes will come out on the full release. Like, for a character. So I assume there must be like some little animation or something like that. But beyond that, I don't think they're going to do nothing. It seems like one of the most content lacking games ever since Evolve.
Well,
yeah,
exactly. I would say that's pretty appropriate since Evolve for sure. And it's interesting in the case of Rainbow Six, especially I think because it's certainly not. It doesn't have a lot going for it in the sense that the current zeitgeist of gamers at the moment aren't really too responsive to that. The idea of a no campaign multiplayer only title certainly is not. Like, this is not the optimal time to try and, I think, persuade consumers to really come around to that. Just because in recent memory, there's just been so many to come out that really have not hit the nail on the head. For instance, Titanfall back in 2014, and now, as you said, Evolve coming out recently as well. It just really... in my personal opinion, I think you can do a multiplayer-only title and actually have it consist of what I would consider to be AAA value. However, it's just that it's been so poorly executed. Star Wars Battlefront 3 actually is going to have no single player as well, and there's a big kerfuffle about that. But ultimately, I don't
never
really...
did though, did it?
Good word.
No, it did. It did back in 2 and 1. They had what you could consider to be a campaign, but obviously, again, the focus was on the multiplayer. I've always been a kind of like champion of multiplayer in terms of like, you know, it certainly can live up to the single player. And, you know, there's also the news that came out very recently, as of a couple of days ago, that the 360 and PS3 version of COD Black Ops 3 is not going to have the campaign mode. I assume for reasons that, like,
It's understandable though.
exactly,
I mean,
the cinematics probably can't run, or whatever graphics, you know, technical issues there. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to be happening more and more as we move on to the next generation, and I feel like
Those
you can do
kids
it.
always want to play online.
Yeah, the kids these days. I guess.
I mean, one thing that you noted as well with like Titanfall is that Titanfall did have a campaign, but they cheekily went about it by it was literally just the core multiplayer. But then they did have animated stuff in the dropship and all that, so you did actually have some form of campaign, and it had a story. How crap it was, though, you know, that's down to everyone's interpretation. But I mean, I wouldn't really. People say Titanfall, but I wouldn't really blame Titanfall for that. I mean, they just tried to do it a different way and obviously failed.
Yeah,
It's not like literally like Rainbow Six, which is going to have nothing. You know, it's going to have you going into. It's like Call of Duty with their multiplayer taster, where you kind of fight against AI, and then it kind of puts you in a playlist of actual people. I feel like that's what they're going to do. They're going to make you play against AI for a bit and go, okay, now you know what you're doing. Here, go against people. That's going to be it.
Yeah, well, let me throw this at you, right? Because you just brought up the Titanfall thing. I agree. It has what you could consider to be a single player, but let's say, for the sake of argument, that Rainbow Six has like a Titanfall-esque version of what is a single player. They have maybe you know, multiplayer matches which have been strung together with very, very bare bones cinematics, much in the same way Titanfall was, right? Let's say it did that. Yeah. My kind of point there would be in terms of like really kind of going about that, I would say there's no point in doing that, because you're wasting time developing what could be considered to be a campaign that is a very poor quality just to put on the box that you have a campaign. And it seems like it's less to do with making value of the content that you have, and more to do with like trying to meet some quota. That's kind of my problem with that, because again, I feel like you can make a multiplayer in the game that is really valuable. To me, it's about value. Like, you really need to have in terms of, you need to have a lot of modes, you need to have more maps, you need to go the extra mile, obviously, to make that multiplayer.
I haven't seen that yet.
And that's the weird. Rainbow Six is such an long-standing series that I think it's kind of like I don't even know if they're just trying to like keep up with the times, or if because Patriots was scrapped. I mean, did they run into like money problems, or like they're just like, okay, you know what, we're gonna like just forget it and try and go this new route.
And I really don't know about it as well, because when they did their initial live streaming reveal, I don't know if you ever watched that, it was complete and utter chaos. The game was broken, it was crashing all over the place. I'm sure that stream went on for like 5 hours because they had to keep restarting. And the unusual thing is, as you were saying, Joe, with the whole thing of putting that kind of value in the content and stuff, the game doesn't even have it. Like, how many modes they're going to actually add, I have no idea. But two of the modes that they have at the moment, apart from Terrorism, which has literally just come out, was you had your bomb defusal, and then you had something called, I think it was like Capture the Point. And basically they're both the exact same mode, but you just do it differently. So one of them is a bomb, and you just stand next to it. And then the other one is a bomb, and you go up to it and you drop like a little diffuser case, like in Counter-Strike. That's all you do. You still just do attack and defend, but that's it. How does that justify two modes? I don't think it does.
No, I agree. I think in the state that it's currently in, you'd be a fool to try and like slap a $60 price tag on it, for sure. And at the end of the day, again, I feel like part of what contributes to this problem, exacerbates the issue really, is publishers being really afraid of dabbling in what I would consider to be a nuanced price point that's more in line of what the game actually has. Just because, and we saw this happen with the Order 1886 and stuff like that, games that very clearly were not in line with the price that they were assigned to. And if the price was just more lowered, or just more in parallel with what the content offered, more realistic, absolutely, then critically, it would have gotten much better results. And I feel like it's the exact same case with Rainbow Six Siege. You know, if it's a multiplayer-only title, and we're saying at the end of the day, a campaign is worth like $20 or $30, depending on its quality, obviously, and you say, okay, well, we'll put Rainbow Six up for, you know, $40 in the States, or in Australia, let's say like $60 or $50. That would be a discount game here. And so you put it up for that price point. All of a sudden, the mindset when you buy that becomes a lot different in terms of the value you're going to be getting. What you expect. Absolutely. And that's the case with a lot of multiplayer-only games on Steam anyway. Usually they're around $20 or $30, and that's okay. But the problem there is that the publishers are afraid, or at least this is what I would consider to be the problem, I guess. Obviously, I'm not a publisher. But I feel like the problem is there that they think that lowering the price point to not make it a AAA quote-unquote price point puts it in the minds of potential buyers that it's like a discount
not that
game.
Good. Yeah,
exactly. It's like it's a subpar game. So therefore,
either that, or they're thinking we're not going to sell as many copies anyway, so we might as well just do it full price so that who do buy it, we do make our money back.
Exactly.
I think the thing you got to remember though is that this is Tom Clancy, and all of his titles have always been AAA, and Rainbow Six especially has been around for so long that I don't think if you can, as a publisher, really devalue that kind of series, and and people actually understand it. So,
but it's one of those things where it doesn't devalue it though. It only devalues it in appearance, right?
Well, and also because they canceled the last one anyway. Well, do they expect people to think that they came out with a AAA title in the last couple of years, like that they completely wrote?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was more creativity kind of thing, because they announced what was it called originally? It was Rainbow Six Patriots. That was it. And then what was it? Activision ends up bringing out Advanced Warfare, and so there's this kind of thing where Advanced Warfare took the cake at that point in time.
Oh yeah,
and so they were I think they were kind of like, oh crap, we've spent all this time, we've been building this thing up that's going to be like this massive reboot, and then Advanced Warfare's come out and made it way cooler, and then they kind of went back to the drawing board and they've given us this, and the outcome probably hasn't been the best, and so it's it's all up in the air at the moment, because it's seeing what else they have, because I'm sure the only other game mode that people have seen is that hostage one, where they can move the hostage around like up downstairs. What else you can do in those tiny little houses? I'm sure like the maps are like these just this is the thing, the maps are so small in case, and so what else can you do apart from little attack and defend modes and stuff? They really it feels like, I don't want to say a lazy game. It just makes me wonder what they've been doing all this time.
Let's be fair. They called it Siege. I mean, that's pretty much
it's in the name, Josh. The hint's
it's indicative of the name. Like, of course they're gonna have small maps. Of course it's gonna be attack and defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit there, because again, don't take my word too solidly, because as I said, you've played a lot more than me. But from what I have played, I'm always a fan. Go back to the Modern Warfare 2 days and in the Black Ops days of ancient COD history now, I guess, for all you young'uns out there. And literally all I would play is just search and destroy. That was like my go-to game mode, because the intensity that I actually have a little bit of an anecdote. Like it was actually so serious. It was such a stressful and physiologically draining experience. What's that?
No, it's like all those dictionary words. I was just getting overloaded.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll turn it down.
Physiologically,
still a bit drowsy.
Patriotically.
But I would be so stressed out at my young and 13-year-old, 14-year-old body that I had a headset on at the time. It was like a Turtle Beach X11, and and my basically my pulse would get so like stressed out and racing so much that I could like the pulse in my ear or something was happening that like I could start to hear the clicks of my pulse in my headset, because I would get like, especially when it would flash on the screen, you're the last alive, it's up to you, and I would see on the other team there's like 4 guys left. I'd be like, oh, okay, here we go. Like And everything would just get so tense. I adored that. That was again. This comes back to like why I just adore games, because they give you such experience, and we'll talk about this probably with horror games. They give you such experiences that you actively participate in such a level that is unparalleled to any fucking medium, right? So it's like it's so special, and it's that level of tensity that I feel like is somewhat mirrored in what I've played of the beta. I feel like so far it's kind of. I feel like you do have to play it with friends if you really want to get that true experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say, otherwise you're gonna like.
Yeah, playing pubs is a little bit.
Yeah,
it's not the best experience, but for the most part, I've been
playing it with my subscribers and stuff in like teams and things.
Oh, he's got fans.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, it is, but through that, I mean, I don't have true friends. Through playing with those groups, I can completely understand that.
If you were nicer to me, I'd be your friend.
Shut up, bitch. But through playing it afterwards by myself with random people, I still enjoy it. There is this like little bit of me that kind of still likes it. I mean, people do communicate with the keyboard and stuff. It's not just like, oh, you gotta have a mic, you've gotta have a mic. There are still people like, when you die, you get control of the little cameras. You can see on the maps, and people do go, "Oh, there's a guy in there. There's a guy in there. Be careful!" And so that's kind of cool that people are communicating and stuff still in the game. So it's not one of those things where you're always going to be alone, thinking, "Why is no one working as a team?"
Yeah. And I feel like as well when ranked modes come out as well with the full release, I assume they're doing some sort of ranked mode. That again it has potential, I think, to be on the level of like a CS:GO. Or something like that, like that level of competitive play, because it has what I would consider to be, just because the way the game's set up, a lot of people won't like it, because I remember back in the COD days anyway, that TDM is always the most played game mode, because it's easy, it's cheap, it's casual. But for the most part, Rainbow Six Siege is set up from the ground at a fundamental level to be hardcore competitive, and that's not me trying to be edgy. It's just like that's just how it's built, because you have one life, it's attacking and defending. And if you lose 3 rounds, if it's best out of 5, so you lose 3 rounds, that's it. You're done. You lose. Get out. That's literally like how it goes.
Get out.
I mean, I don't know if you've played all the other ones like before. Like, say, I mean,
I have no history with the franchise.
So you've never played like Vegas and stuff?
No.
Like with those ones, I believe those were co-op as well, where you were basically in like a 3-man party, and it had the cover system, third-person shooting when you were in that cover system, kind of like Gears of War, but then when you went back into like out of a cover, it was like first-person again and stuff. You had to do things where you had to breach and clear rooms, all that kind of awesome things. And then they had like a massive multiplayer kind of scene as well with it, where people had their own customizable characters, and you still did all that tactical insertion stuff. Yes, it wasn't like this where it's tanky, and back then it was a bit more codified, I guess you could say. But it's weird to see that large scale game that, you know, come down to this, be this really enclosed small experience, and again, this being all we get, just being these few little modes and things that don't seem very different from each other.
Sure,
like, if it is just sieging, which I get, I mean, come on, as you said, it's in the title, but it's like, do stuff with it. I mean, the thing is that the front cover to the game shows SWAT breaking down a door, and it's like a guy with a gun falling backwards Matrix style. And I'm like, yes, I want that! But instead, every single round is literally you all hunkering into a corner of your little bullet shield, and going, oh god, they're gonna come through the door, and that being it.
It's tactical. Tom Clancy Rainbow Six games have always been tactical. The first one was exactly like that, where you had to plan out the literal routes that you had the teams going on. Do you want to just go in guns blazing, then just play a different game?
That's what it is.
So many games like that.
That's literally what you do now, though. So, we're going to explain an entire Rainbow Six round, and this is how it all goes down, which I think is really unusual, because it's not how the concept was initially presented. At the start, every single attacking player plays as a little robot UAV wheel. You know, like you know, like the R2-D2 thing from the new Star Wars. It goes. It's basically everyone playing as that, going around a building trying to find the bomb, and then the defending team have to barricade the doors, or fill it with the little window things to stop them from actually breaching it properly and stuff like that. And then basically they've also got to watch out for these little UAV robots, and they're all shooting the floor everywhere, going, "Oh God, there's R2s everywhere! Shoot them!"
Then you accidentally shoot your teammate in the head,
which somebody did, by the way. Someone shot me in the fucking ass while I was doing it, because there's like team kills in it and everything. And after that chaos is ended, which was a stupid idea, then that's when the attacking team has to break in. Now, at the same time as that, the attacking team does actually have characters that still has the UAV robot. So that means that the first bit seems so random and pointless, where everyone is just chaotically these little robots running around. And then you've already got these characters that already have it, and they're just using it anyway within this like small 5-minute round. So it's like that start bit is a waste of time because you're doing it again in that bit. But once you find the bomb, once the attacking team break into that room, it is just free-for-all. Bullets are flying everywhere, and it doesn't feel tactical because in the initial concept, again, it showed them blowing holes through walls and using those walls as cover. It was been all about destructible environments, been like, okay, team, we can actually dismantle this part of a wall and use it to our advantage. Instead, now you don't have that. It seems like they kind of show this awesome thing, kind of like with Tom Clancy, which was that open world one that they're doing as well. I can't remember what the name of it is, with the third person... The Division. It's literally showing this amazing concept, but then they kind of pull back and go, we can't actually do that, I'm sorry. And then it's just this weird skewed package of their original ambition. And it just rubbish.
Let me throw something else at you then, because do you think this could potentially be more of a symptom of like, and I don't want to be too disingenuous because obviously you played a lot of games, but just in terms of the games you've played, just because this could be, I think, maybe, potentially, just to play devil's advocate, this could be a maybe, as we said, the current kind of, landscape of shooters at the moment is fast-paced, get in there, kill, spray and pray. Like, that's what it's kind of, unless you're a CSGO player, of course, then you know how to shoot. But for the most part, it's about, like, just the left trigger, right trigger, kill them fast, and just look at them and they die. So, could this be more of a, I guess, a case of a lot of shooters migrating to Rainbow Six with that already kind of preconceived notion of how to play a shooter, and potentially this game does not have the time to like really teach its audience the appropriate way of doing things? Because also I feel like there is a layer of depth that gets revealed once you start playing tactically and you do start to swamp other teams. For instance, like we were saying at the beginning of the game, the defending team can actually choose what room the objective is going to spawn in. That seems kind of minor, but if you're playing at that tactical level, it's a pretty huge deal. Like, it's a big kind of mind game if your other team is playing on that level as well. So I don't know, do you think that maybe could be a potential thing there?
I mean, a part of that, though, is that whole thing of that it feels like it's too little too late, where they've ended up like going back onto this formula of CSGO, while CSGO has been, well, not CSGO, but Counter-Strike has been around for so long. They already did it. It's literally one of those things like in that South Park episode where they're thinking of things and they keep going, Simpsons did it, Simpsons did it. And they literally that game has happened. Why they're doing it in their own way, which is literally just Counter-Strike in a smaller map, is just beyond me. It just seems... It doesn't have that kind of inspiration of what I expect from Rainbow Six. It just seems so, I don't know, like... just pull back, as mentioned before. And it kind of that thing as well of you're seeing a lot more developers now trying to push for the esports experience, where it's quick matches which people can watch and then that be it. And so it does have that thing where when you're playing, you're thinking, I bet people are just gonna like do Twitch live stream esports things while you're playing. It's like this platform of game isn't for me, it's for that kind of audience instead. And so I mean that's how I kind of feel of it. At the same time though, with that too, it also has a small kind of weird hint of a DLC platform as well, kind of like with Evolve, because of, I don't know if you noticed this, but you have things in it called, I think they're called reputation points. So you have your experience, and then you have reputation points, which allows you to unlock the characters, and the characters get more expensive the further down the list
the more
you go.
You buy. So you can buy any character, I think, at the same price, but once you buy the first one, then your second one's going to cost more, then your third one's going to cost more,
Totally. And so it's one of those things too now where it's like the game is that small, but it's got all of these different characters and stuff as well, that it's probably going to make you be paying for those as well at some point with microtransactions. So it's kind of like, how much of this game are they actually showing us that we're going to get in the package before they actually shove the PlayStation Store, the PC, the Steam Store, the Ubisoft Store, whatever, and then the Xbox Store with all that DLC content. That could be more maps, that could be more characters, more modes. It could be modes. Because, again, they're not showing much. So it's
this definitely could be a case of what I thought Destiny really did in its early days as well, in which they had an alpha, then they had a beta. I wasn't there for the alpha. I played the beta, and I was like, "Wow, this is like really great. This is really good for a beta." I hope that I can't wait to play. I can't wait to play the full game and see how much they've actually expanded on this. And the full game didn't expand on it at all. The beta was actually just the first 4 hours of the game. So if what you're saying is true, I kind of agree that if this is all the game is really for the most part, with the exception of obviously a few new modes and a few new maps, then I would absolutely agree that it's just not substantial content. It's not enough to really warrant that purchase, and it's probably going to go the same way Evolve did. And I think that was more evidence that to substantiate the notion that you just can't release a multiplayer only game and expect it to have any longevity if it's way too bare bones. And Evolve, I think, had a massive player base for the first month, and then a severe sharp decline.
Totally.
It was ridiculous. So you really need to understand that as a developer, I think. So definitely I don't know. It's a hard thing to balance. Again, if you want to do AAA, that comes with so many preconceived notions about what value is, what you need to have, and unfortunately, we're currently in a landscape where consumers just think a campaign is necessary. I would be under the impression, I would argue that you don't necessarily need to have the campaign, but you're making it so hard for me to bat for you when your game is completely devoid of any content in the multiplayer. You need to have that balance there, regardless of whether you have a campaign or not. You need to have fucking value. You get what I'm saying?
It's the variety though as well, because that's what you need. If you're playing a multiplayer game, you need your players to feel a fresh experience every single time. So I don't want to be going into that same person's neighborhood house in Rainbow Six and doing the exact same garage infiltration over and over and over again. It's one of those things where I've always thought to myself, they should really try and implement this stronger sense of a random level generator in a way. Say, where you have a neighborhood template for a house, but then you the houses change. So you could be some kind of simple The Sims kind of thing, where the game builds a house in some way, adds furniture, yada yada yada. But it's a different experience. It means that people coming back and experiencing more, obviously of the same thing but different. And so it feels fresh, it feels exciting. They're not going to do that, that's not what we're getting. But I feel like that's why people kind of leave, because with Evolve, you had that initial surge of players, because everyone was like, oh, awesome, we're going to be in space, and we're going to be chasing monsters and stuff. But it was just the same environments and the same process. You drop down, you chase Hunter through the jungle, the monster gets bigger, you fight it, the end. And that was it. But you always did it in the same locations, in the same process, and that's what we're doing with Rainbow Six now, is that it's just the same thing over and over again. You need it to mix up in some way, have special features within those kind of gameplay mechanics and things that make it, its own thing. So just
it's like
Ubisoft,
a DL.
do
It's
something.
it's like a DLC. It's not really a full-fledged game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's just it's that thing of they've got the ball, they've just got to now dribble with it and make a good play. That's the thing.
And
but
maybe
it's if they can do that.
And maybe a year after Rainbow Six's launch, when the Fallen Queen comes out for an expansion, it'll actually be complete. That'll be ideal.
Fallen Queen.
That'll be the ideal scenario there, I think, if they want to adopt the Bungie route, I guess.
Wishful thinking.
There you go.
ISIS infiltration pack. There you go.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's talk about GTA. Now, to give some sort of premise to this discussion, there was an article, it was picked up by, the games media, kind of circle jerk, if you will, that kind of goes around where one news site reports it and then every other news site pretends that they reported it. And I originally saw the story on VG 24/7, and it was kind of alleging to the fact that basically Rockstar have confirmed that all of their stuff is primarily focused on GTA Online, Whether or not that means that no single-player DLC is coming to GTA 5, you have to infer from there. Maybe they have it complete and maybe they're moving on. Maybe they just decided they didn't want to do it, but it's an interesting discussion, I think, to have just generally because, and as we discussed this before the show, I mean, like, Rockstar just are kind of known for their expansion packs for their single-player games that are really substantial, in some cases releasing in their own retail format. The one that comes to mind for me that stands out was Red Dead Redemption's, which was Undead Nightmare, which completely just turned the whole thing into zombies, because why the fuck not? And GTA 4, you know, had Battlegate Tony and a couple others there as well, which people kind of adored. They became kind of cult classics in terms of what we consider to be great DLC. So I guess a lot of people would be a little upset at the prospect of not having any GTA 5 single player DLC. Did you guys play GTA 5 and finish the story?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of this is the thing though, 'cause
I
everyone-
really liked it. I'm in the boat that if they don't, that's fine, because the story mode was so complete and so full and kind of like perfect that I liked it. So, if they want to like use their resources to expand multiplayer and then take their like story mode team or whomever, like, you know, and go and like work on GTA 6 or whatever they're going to do next, or maybe they will like bring out like a DLC story mode, but like further down the line, like a few years from now or something like that, because they're riding success right now. Why wouldn't they just, you know, divert all of their energy to multiplayer? That's where they're making their bank.
It's one of those things too of that wasn't the multiplayer. It was the first multiplayer with actual cutscenes in it as well. So it's kind of like you are the DLC character in the way it's your story. So I can see why they're not making like single player stuff, because now everyone's doing their own thing in the multiplayer. That's why they had all those characters reappearing in your own customizable story and things like that. So I just see it that way.
It's so much more of a sandbox game than even the old GTAs were. So it's hard to run out of things to do in GTA 5 and online, or even when you're in story mode, there's still so much to do. It's still so huge.
Right. I tend to agree with that. And I tend to agree with your first point as well, that like I finished the story. For some reason, they felt compelled to have a choice-based ending when there was really only one ending. If you've played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But
it's old. You can spoil it.
I mean, yeah, I guess spoilers for GTA.
Trevor
5,
dies.
But there's one ending that you're supposed to pick, which is the actual ending for the game, in which the characters kind of just like win, which is the point. There's two other random endings in which you kill other characters, which I don't know why you'd do. It's just really silly. I didn't understand that. But the actual ending for the game, which I will refer to as the actual ending, basically was, I agree, it was really substantial, and I think ended the story quite nicely. I think I'm a little bit, I guess, saddened at the fact that there won't be DLC, just because I did think it was a really nice game, and not necessarily because I want more story, but because I want more of that GTA experience just on my own. But I totally agree with the sentiment that, you know, you take it online, it's a whole nother game, essentially. And, you know, I picked it up on PC when it released earlier this year, and just like, I mean, I'd played GTA back in 2013 when it released on last-gen consoles. I hadn't played the, I guess, 2.0, you could call it, version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I hadn't played that yet. And on PC... man, that is phenomenal. It's a completely new game, and especially with first person mode now as well. It's just like they've basically kind of updated it with DLC, kind of also like naturally, organically. And that's kind of like I guess an ironic aspect there as well. But I don't know how much of the online you guys have played, but the online is pretty exceptional as far as a multiplayer mode goes. It's a revamped of the single player with your friends. You can do heists now, which is fucking awesome.
It's awesome.
It's so much fun.
I lost interest in it. I'm sorry. I played the story.
You're like the black sheep of.
I'm not
like
the
every video
black
game
sheep.
that's like cool. You're like, nope, not into
I'm
it.
sorry. I'm liking Destiny at the moment. Then again, though, I am one of the few people on the planet that like to evolve, but but then, I mean, I like the story story. I was kind of done with the story after I did it. Like, I didn't feel compelled to go out and do all the extra stuff. Like, I remember, wasn't there like GTA 4, you had to go collect all the pigeons or whatever? I remember, like, I didn't feel like I wanted to wander around. So, I mean, I did when Red Dead Redemption came out. For some reason, I felt so connected to that world. I just loved the characters. I loved, everything that was going on in it. I wanted to, like, I got the platinum. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But in this game, I just didn't have. And I think that's because the game world was so big, but then they didn't really do more stuff with it. Like, there was so much empty space that you could. It was kind of like, it kind of makes sense with Destiny as well, where I was hovering around somewhere on the patrol mission, and there was so much stuff that they never used in that game. And it's like, you could have done so much story stuff and interesting things.
Oh,
and it's
sure, but that's a bit of a false equivalency, right? From GTA to Destiny.
I mean, with GTA though, I mean, you do have all these large sections where you could do the same thing. Where they could, I mean, you do have those little stranger missions and stuff, but I wanted a bit more. I mean, I don't really care about the multiplayer.
You wanted
I played
more?
I played the multiplayer, and I got my fast car, I got my apartment, and then I was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of done. I don't really want to go play team deathmatch and stuff. I haven't played the heists because I've heard you need like a massive.
The heists are so much fun.
Well, no,
because,
no,
like, the
no,
rest
dude.
of-
You only
the
need
rest-
for the first heist, you only need 2 people. For the second one, you only need 4. I don't know how much
Yeah.
it goes from there because I haven't finished the second one. We keep failing super hard, but
Expecting I have friends. I thought we
Maybe
already
that's
went.
what it is. Maybe that's what it is, Josh. We're having fun with it because we're playing
I
multiplayer.
still have the PlayStation 3 version while everyone else is buggered off to the PlayStation 4 version.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for it again. Shove that up your ass. No. I'll have my original upgrade, like they did with Call of Duty on PlayStation 4 when all that stuff went about. But I'm not paying 14.
I can respect that. I can respect
Josh,
that.
I feel really sorry for you. I'm sorry, man.
Nah, he's a man of principle.
You
I
want to
respect
hang
that.
out after this, or are you all right? You gonna be okay?
A hug.
Okay,
I'm
you're
probably gonna
fine.
hug. But I mean, with multiplayer too, is that a lot of that experience when my friends did play the PlayStation 3 version until they went to the PlayStation 4 version was that you did just wander around shooting each other and going, oh, look what I just did. I blew you up while you were driving a car. And that's basically all you did. I was kind of like, oh, okay. Oh, I got the jet plane, the multiplayer, flew that around for a bit, and I was like, sure, okay, and what else can I do? But I really wanted, I mean, this is the thing, I would love some single player DLC that might maybe make me go back to experiencing that game again, but I don't care about the multiplayer. I'm more of a narrative gamer, and if they're not going to make that stuff,
I
then
feel like you're kind of in like the minority of that then.
fine.
A lot of
I'll be the minority, I don't mind.
I don't know. I mean,
I'll
I mean, again, Rockstar. I would assume a lot of people would be a little bit sad if there were no single player DLC. Obviously, again, we don't know for sure because it could be a case of the single player DLC is now done, and now it's been reported that they're all working on online. Yeah, absolutely. Or even
okay, well, it's never really done.
Well, the single player DLC.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't just pull people off the team, so I doubt that that's what that means. They wouldn't just say, okay, we're done and we're going to release it in 6 months, a year, whatever. So let's all just work on multiplayer. There's no way that in production that would ever happen. So it's probably that they're not doing
like,
single
how do you mean
player.
not like logistically?
Like they would never actively pull people off of a team from like developing anything if they weren't gonna just push it now. So like if they did that, then that was the reasoning, then I'd assume that they'd be putting out the DLC within the next few months.
Yeah, you're saying that like the idea that they've finished it, now they're going to start advertising it is a bit ridiculous.
Right.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no, I tend to agree.
Probably, they're not doing another.
The thing with Rockstar as well is that they're more of like the drop the bomb kind of guys and gals. Like they don't kind of like announce that they're working on something. They like to surprise you. So it's one of those things that they're not going to outwardly kind of like admit, yeah, we're working on stuff. They're one of those like developers where it's like once something comes out, you're like, ooh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
They like to be the person who says the word first. They don't want to be, just releasing, say, oh, we promise we're making something. So they probably are, but they want it to be this big surprise. So I expect that's what it's going to be. Like with Ballad of Gay Tony and stuff, we didn't know they were working on the stuff. It was kind of, it came out and everyone was like, oh, this is actually really cool. I could play some of this. Mm-hmm. And so I assume this is what they're doing again. Like with Undead Nightmare, we didn't know that was coming out. They just kind of dropped it on people. And everyone was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. So I probably think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I mean, again, yeah, I guess to round it out, I mean, I would be a little bit sad if there was no DLC, but then again, I wouldn't really be too upset at the fact that they really were dedicated to making online pretty great. I agree with you, Josh. At launch, it wasn't really up to snuff. I don't think. I mean, in all honesty, it was fun, but the idea of what they were communicating in their trailers, like this idea that it was going to be this like
they wrote a pretty
innovative,
big
crazy.
check.
Yeah, they really made an effort to portray it as something it clearly was not. However, they have also made a very clear, deliberate effort to try and make it that post-launch, and I appreciate that quite a
Right.
bit. Now we actually have
Thanks,
heists.
Rockstar.
Finally, now we have the clan kind of battle thing going on a little bit.
Yeah.
To an extent, obviously, but like
They probably were wasting their time developing it for next gen though too.
oh, for sure, absolutely, yeah. So
Like that's why it took so long for it to take off.
yeah, so all of that together, I think, I can still appreciate the online, and the fact that I still play it is maybe indicative of the fact that
Yeah.
it is more maybe valuable to work online than to release a $20 pack for expansion or something. I don't know.
I find it weird that it feels really kind of fizzled out now though, like with the whole heist thing. They took so long working on it that when it actually came out, people didn't seem too fussed about it. Like you don't hear about it anymore and stuff.
They made it sync up with the PC launch, so that was a really good idea. Just because everyone that picked it up, like the PC audience, which had not been tapped into previously, picked it up with heists already embedded in the game. So that was like a big, I think, leg up in terms of just injecting it like some life back into it again. But I do agree, yeah.
I mean, one thing as well is like seeing as you play this game and stuff with the heists. I mean, from my original experience, all you could work towards were cars, the apartments, and a few guns. Is that still what it is? Is that all the heists are there for you to make lots of money so you can just buy more guns and then go troll people,
Well,
or is
you
there actually
can't-
more to it?
You can't judge a multiplayer by like its end game because the whole point of multiplayer is that you're just
Well, yeah, you
constantly.
can. Yeah, you
Well,
can.
I mean, you're
Fight,
just leveling
fight.
up and stuff, but the whole point is like the journey of it. It's not really like, okay, well, I'm only going to be doing these heists and all these missions just so I can get my character all the way leveled up and get all the guns and get the biggest, nicest apartment. That's not what I'm doing when I'm playing multiplayer. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to log on with my friends and we're going to blow shit up and we're going to fail like 20 times and it'll be fun. And that's what they did. I'm not going to sit here and second guess Rockstar because they're making a fuck ton of money and they're doing
Yeah.
it really well. So
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
they obviously know what they're doing.
I would think they have a little bit of spare cash, but yeah, no, I think in terms of what you're saying, Josh, I agree, and I played with those types of people that were like, oh, yeah, so Jay, I know you want to play some different game modes tonight, but we're just going to be playing race for 6 hours because it's the most efficient way to get cash so we can buy apartments and buy more virtual stuff that has no meaning whatsoever. And I'm like, okay, cool, have fun. I agree with you. And the heists, in terms of getting money, the money doesn't go anywhere besides getting more cars and stuff like that. But what's great is that the heists themselves are such great cooperative missions that have so much thrill and so much chaos. I'll give you another example, right?
Time.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you another example, right? Because if I'm full disclosure, I'm only actually halfway through the second heist, and that's not because I haven't played it a lot.
Okay.
I've played it for like 15 hours, but the problem is, okay, so my group of friends are just literally insane. Like they're not mentally stable. So like, in trying to play the heists, it is hard because it's just chaos, right? So there's one particular instance in the second heist which involves 4 people. You split up into groups of 2 and you do individual things. And if one of the groups on one of their segments passes out or dies, the other group has to stop as well. Everyone resets. Basically, what was happening is that my 2 other friends just kept dying over and over again because they're just bad. But then finally, they ended up doing their part first before us. And because we got so bored, we were just screwing around. And we got halfway through our part. We'd finished it like 7 times on our end, but they kept screwing up. But then they finally finished, like, all right, we'll wait for you guys now. Like, we're cool, all good. And basically, we had to get a car, take it to the port, and then light it on fire, right? That's all we had to do.
Yeah.
We drove it to the port. We lit it on fire for like the 7th time. We've done this so many times already. And my friend, like didn't realize that he had spilt oil on the ground next to him. So when I shot the car to blow it up, it lit him on fire. He ran around. He ran around for like 5 minutes. I'm like, dude, jump in the water. We're at a fucking port. Just get in the water. You'll be fine. And then as he's like doing the like slow motion Baywatch run to the water, he just collapses. He just falls over. And this is like the again like the 8th time we've tried this mission, and like we all just like basically were just depressed. We're just like, oh my god, we have to do this again. Are you serious? And it's that level of like just immense chaos that I think GTA, at least in the heists, replicates in such a awesome fashion. I don't know. It's almost indescribable the amount of fun that game can be when you're playing with your buds doing the heists and stuff. So that's why I would say the heists are pretty great in that aspect.
Cool.
Cool. Nailed it.
Not gonna buy it.
You didn't convince him.
I still don't give a fuck, but sure. Awesome.
No, I'm kidding.
All right. Finally, guys, we're going to talk about our experience with the horror genre. Ooh. Coming off the back of
Too spooky.
Until Dawn, the critically acclaimed PlayStation exclusive that was really kind of underhyped and did pretty well. And also going into the
Like all PlayStation games.
the previously released Soma just came out as well by Frictional, who did Amnesia. You know, it's a good time to be a horror fan. But what about you guys? Are you guys typically involved in the horror genre? Is this a genre that you're got your eyes on for the most part?
I was gonna let Alexis
I
talk
thought
about it.
I
I thought I was being greedy.
So I don't like to play horror games myself. But
And why is that, Alexis?
Well, because I'm a big fat scaredy cat and I'm a baby and I'm a pussy. But I will watch other people play it because it is always, and I mean, not always, I wouldn't say always, but not only is it fun to watch and like just kind of just get scared a little bit because I always hide behind my hands whenever I watch it. Like I've been watching my friend play Until Dawn. I've been watching him play Soma now, but Soma is less like jump scary. But I most of the time they're good stories. You know, like Until Dawn was gross and it was terrifying and it was scary and I hate watching it, but it also was like a really good like oh my god, twist story. It was so good.
We need to do a spoiler cast of that, I think. If we all get to the point where we played it.
So good.
We should
It
do a
was
spoiler
so
cast. It's pretty
good.
great.
But I was grossed out and I was terrified and those are fun feelings.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you. I played all of Until Dawn, and the only reason I could really stick out the latter half of that game, which is significantly scarier, is because I was so invested in the story and the characters at that point. But for the most part, I find it extremely... I have a deep struggle with games of horror games and stuff like that, just because, again, gaming is such a... For me, anyway, I feel I'm so... involved both mentally and physically, so it's like it's so tough for me to like play a horror game because physiologically I struggle. Like I remember playing Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time.
Oh my god!
And that did not go well. Like
terrifying.
I could not make it through night 2, I think, without hiding behind my couch on a live stream. And people being in the chat like, where did he go? I'm just like, I can't do this. Like it's
to me.
I can't do it, Josh. Josh, come on.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Really?
It's a scary game. It's a scary game.
It's
no.
not.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
It's really not.
Five Nights at Freddy's is scary. I haven't played 2, 3, and 4, but the first one anyway was, in my opinion, is a horror classic just because it does something that other. Listen, let me justify. I feel
my face
the
is
tension.
going purple right now.
I feel the tension, right? I feel the tension. It's not a it's not a horror classic in the sense that it's the pinnacle of horror gaming. I don't mean that. I mean that it's done something so unique and it's captured what I think a lot of horror games miss, in the sense that in Five Nights at Freddy's, you're completely devoid of all control, and that kind of removes all aspect of I guess your sense of comfort in terms of controlling and moving and doing things. Like most horror games typically nowadays tend to be the kind of walking simulator, I guess, point and click type stuff for the most part. Like when you're talking about Outlast, Amnesia and stuff like that. Sure, there's some puzzle elements, but for the most part they tend to be more less mechanically focused. Whereas Five Nights at Freddy was solely mechanical focused, and you couldn't actually move at all.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an inverse of what we were used to, therefore kind of turning it on its head a bit. That's why I thought it was certainly kind of unique.
It's
But
like the slow walk down the scary
yeah,
hallway.
yeah, exactly. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
Oh, you still doing this at me?
Yeah. Well, you were the one that seemed a little bit
Oh, I'm
salty.
so mad.
I don't know. I mean, because like I'm still from the proper classics, you know, like kind of like
Oh,
Silent
God.
Hill 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Those were the scary games to me. I mean, recently, I don't know, I've just kind of been noticing, as you were saying, with things like Amnesia and stuff, like Aliens Isolation, it's those types of games at the moment where it feels like in some way they're forcing it there, where you're going to die or going to get a jump scare or something like that, where the control is out of your hands and things. And I get it, but at the same time, I used to just love how they did the originals, kind of like, again, with like Silent Hill or Resident Evil, you know, how Resident Evil used to be with that tension, but then again,
Yeah.
I like that control. I think that's what I liked, like, personally, like where they jump scared you, but then you could fix the situation, not jump scare, you're dead. And then be like,
Yeah.
okay. And then you try again and it's jump scare, you're dead. Even though you were trying so hard to stay alive and stuff, and then you have to do it all over again. While in, like, say, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, they did the jump scare, and it was like, that was really good. Now I'm going to kill you. I'm not going to let you kill me.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight for this.
So what
And
do you think of more recently, I guess, The Evil Within? How did that kind of was that more of a return to form?
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, I remember when I reviewed that game and I loved it to death. It was brilliant. The DLC was fantastic as well. But it was because I think it was just because it let you continue that journey. It let you go on that pace where it threw scares at you. But at the same time, it threw a challenge at you where you could overcome it. And so with these games at the moment, it feels like there isn't this kind of way to overcome it where, like, legitly, where you have to kind of play by these games like Alien Isolation's rules and stuff of you have to have the alien kill you and stuff. You know, if that makes any sense?
Right.
The monster has to find you in these current ones, which I don't like. While Resident Evil and all the ones before that, or even Evil Within, doesn't have that, where you have the assets, the tools to survive, you know? But at the same time be like, oh crap, I've got no bullets left. But legitimately, that is kind of like a thing where, like in movies of horror and stuff too, where the main character runs out of the bullets, and then, or like the side character, and then they're screwed. It puts you in those situations where you feel like you're reliving that kind of aspect, but in your own way. While these other games don't, because you're just walking down corridors and then something jumps out at you. I don't know. Do you agree with that, or do you not?
I think I absolutely agree, because at a game, like we're talking about at a game sort of level in terms of mechanics, I mean, you'd need more of a. I mean, like it's kind of just. I mean, it's not so, I guess, correlated, but for the most part, the deeper your mechanics are, the more active involvement the player's going to have. That isn't always true, but for the most part,
you can't put like Five Nights at Freddy's along the same plane as other like like Resident Evil. You know what I mean? Like, even though they're like both horror genre,
well, I
they're
feel like
two totally different games.
I agree.
Style.
I wouldn't loop it in just because Five Nights at Freddy's is its own unique thing. Just like in the same way that, I don't know if you guys played Her Story, but that's its own unique thing. It's not like that is a genre that you can put that into. It's like it did its own thing in its own unique way. That's why I consider it to be an anomaly, something special. But what Josh is saying, I do agree with. Like, in terms of creating something that is mechanically like involving and really draining on the player in terms of what they have to do, and also giving them the sense that they can succeed and they can accomplish something. That's also another feeling entirely that horror games can kind of capture, and then simultaneously stab you in the gut when you like kind of realize that you're doomed ultimately. So
it was one of those. It was one of those things. Like a really good, I guess, kind of example is again Alien Isolation, where I played the start of it and I did like the idea and the concept, but then there was that thing of sometimes you will hide in a locker, but then the alien will still find you, and so the game basically had its thing where it wanted to win, and generally always would. And I think that's what a lot of people hated about it in the end as well, was that the alien will always find you. And they also had this game mechanic, which I realized as well, where if you go too far away from the alien will then automatically know where you are in what kind of area and go straight there, which kind of makes sense because it's one of those things where you don't want to feel like you've just got past it and just keep going kind of thing. But it feels like cheating, if that makes any sense. So like with like Five Nights at Freddy's, I've seen people play it, and I get it. You kind of like you're just staring down corridors right on cameras or something. I haven't played it myself, but I've watched people, and so you got like a bunch of cameras, and you look through the cameras, and then at some point he just jumps out and gets you.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's that thing of, oh, I'm looking through the camera. Oh, he got me. You know, then you got to do it again. But like, how do you win? How,
You survive
do
the
I
night. You
do
use
I get
tactically. You use the and they expanded on it more in like the latest Freddy's game where they like added like venting systems and like camera systems and like audio to like draw the characters into different rooms away from you. And sometimes that'll break and you have to reset it. And if you close vents, you start to hallucinate and it kind of like knocks you out for a little bit. Like they've added elements. Like the very first one was very basic, but then they
yeah.
slowly started adding these things to it where, but yeah, I mean, like, I see how you could like get frustrated about how you're literally just sitting there, but it's also like a really cheap game. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't cost that
Oh, it was
much.
like $5, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like you're expecting it to be this full fledged.
Josh, let me ask you. Like, I mean, did you play Until Dawn?
No, I haven't played it yet. I just haven't got around to it.
Okay.
Still too. I haven't finished Phantom Pain yet, dude.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I mean, in terms of, I guess I'll link it to it anyway, and we'll see when you play it. I guess we can talk about it then. But I feel like again, I agree with what you're saying, but there certainly is ways of kind of getting around it in the sense that Until Dawn. This isn't a spoiler, obviously, because this is kind of the premise of the game and the nature of it, of a choice consequence. You can finish that game with everyone alive. You can finish that game with everyone dead. So ultimately, without being too mechanically deep in terms of giving you like all these assorted tools, for instance, it still has a element of success and failure that is
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
sorely missed in a lot of other horror games. Is that what you're talking about in terms of?
Yes, well, it's one
Yeah,
of those things where, like with Until Dawn, or say we could even go further back and say Heavy Rain and such,
yeah,
where even if your character dies, things still continue and you get to see something new. So it's not like you die, oh, let's do this again, kind of thing. It's not a rinse repeat. You are actually progressing, you are actually moving forward. You
mm,
can still lose an asset being a character,
Yeah.
but at least then the other characters are going to move on and experience it. It's not a time paradox where if one character dies, the rest can't continue onwards
But
and stuff.
you still have like no control over it though because even though like you don't get to foreshadow if I choose this one what's going to it's just like a oh if I choose to jump or if I choose to just go along with it like one way I could live, one way I could die, one way like it could be like no effect at all. You don't know that. So really it's still taking away that element of being able to defend yourself. Like cuz once you click the button, once you pick a choice, sometimes you have no option of like fighting
Yeah.
and you're going
But
to
I mean,
die anyway.
you still progress though, and you get to see the
The
next
game's
thing.
not over, right? Because they've spent time and money on it and into developing this whole thing where you have like seven different characters.
right. But to
But
Josh's point, I feel like definitely the style in which we do horror more recently with games like Outlast and Aliens Isolation, it's
mhm.
scary. I guess like, scary seems a bit like. I mean, well, the tension is there, but I
Yeah.
think what Josh is kind of alluding to, and I tend to agree with, is that the tension is more of on a downward trend the more you fail, simply because it becomes more about abusing kind of the game and less about being involved in this atmospheric horror scenario. I don't know. Is that what you're kind
Yeah,
of getting at?
yeah, yeah, kind of like
Where
that. I
you'd
mean, it's one
rather
of
be invested.
Well, yeah. If you keep getting game over screens over and over and over again, you keep resetting the same sort of environment. You get used to
yeah,
it. Your body starts to, I guess, and your mind starts to get more acclaimed and comfortable in the environment. With Until
Right.
Dawn, you get a scare, and maybe the scare puts you on edge, and someone dies. It's like, well, you can't replay that. The game's just going to keep going. So you're
yeah.
Yeah.
constantly on edge in that sense. You can't just replay it over and over again until the fright has worn off and you can maybe approach it a bit more rationally. That just isn't the
It's like
case.
it's like one of those things where with those kind of like games with Until Dawn, even if you do lose someone, it's still rewarding you with something else being progress. And so as I was saying with like older games like say Silent Hill or Resident Evil or even say Dead Space, is that yes, you have a gun, so you can fend off stuff, but it's that thing of even if like you run out of bullets, you're rewarded with something where you get to the next bit, you get to see something else, and you go, oh look, there's an ammo pack, I can maybe survive, and that is kind of like that tension where you're like, oh, I've got this thing that I can kind of like go onwards with, and that is the reward where you're kind of put in that situation as would like a character in these actual games where, say, in real life, if you had a serial killer after you or like say these creepy monsters, you'd then find the gun and you'd be like, yes, I've got the gun, I might actually be able to survive this, but even you got a few bullets, so you're like, oh my god, I've only got 5 bullets, but there are like 20 of these things. So it's like, how do I get out of this? And that's the kind of thing that I like.
Right.
But then that is kind of like the reward, you know? It's not just, I've got nothing, I've got to hide behind this table, but he's probably going to see me anyway.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I'm going to die. Then I've got to go behind that table again and again and again and somehow get down the corridor, you know? So it seems the way that games are going, like we are seeing more of these Five Nights at Freddy games, or even, what was that other game called? The one where you had to pick up the notes. I kind of blacked them out of my memory.
Oh,
Slender?
Slender.
Slender. So we're seeing these Slender games, you know? But it's like a running progress of just those kind of things where it's, you're always going to the inevitable, which is you're going to be found. The inevitable thing with Slender was, even if you found all the notes, he still found you. In Alien Isolation, if you're going somewhere, he's still going to find you. In Five Nights at Freddy's, you're going to be looking down all these things, but at the end of the day, he's probably still going to find you, and then you're going to have to do it again. And so it's just that rinse and repeat that I don't like. Maybe it's just the way that they're making these games. They're so successful, though. That's the thing. They've obviously been so successful that everyone's making them now.
Well,
but I don't like that transition.
I don't think they're like going to be game of the year though either. I mean, with games like, because Until Dawn is pretty similar. I would like equate it not in the same like genre plane, but the fact that with The Walking Dead, you know, Until Dawn and The Walking Dead, like they're both point and click. They're both like kind of like a choose your own adventure. I mean, you know, Walking Dead a little bit less than Until Dawn, but they're probably gonna, like, just like Walking Dead was game of the year, like Until Dawn's probably gonna be a really big contender because of that. But that doesn't mean that Five Nights at Freddy's, that some people didn't just enjoy it for a $5 game like what it was.
But in the overall end of things is that I just don't want to see that be the norm of horror game now, where it is
you don't want like them to get complacent with just making money.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want it to be on. That's the thing. That's how our world works, especially in media. Is that once something becomes really successful, everybody else copies it.
Yeah.
And Until Dawn seems to be one of those small rare gems, just like Evil Within, which kind of goes back to the ways that things were, where it's a strong narrative, where it is about progress, where it's showing you these different things, and it's not just a small package. It's kind of, it reminds me of like mobile games as well. You know, it kind of Five Nights at Freddy's in a way kind of gives that kind of feeling to it, where it's a small
That's
thing.
Where it was.
Just to make
It was on mobile.
Yeah, well, there you go. Point made.
Well,
Right,
okay. I guess running it out then. I couldn't end this discussion without bringing up PT. Josh, what do you, in terms of like analyzing it then, in terms of the way things are going, is PT more of the same, or is PT an exception to that?
Well, PT's a bit different though, because it was kind of just like a concept of what they were going to do.
It was a trailer, playable trailer.
It was a playable trailer. It was, but the cool thing was that people were still finding stuff in that game, but onto the point of like I liked it. I really liked what it tried to do. It surprised me in things, but again, it's one of those things in my mind. It just keeps saying it's a demo. It's a demo. Like once they showed that actual trailer of what they wanted to do before they didn't make it, you know, like the whole thing of where I don't know if I'm trying to explain what it could have been like. You know, where the guy wanders on the corridor and he looks to the left and there's this like head rolling and it opens up and it like maggots come out of it and there's this massive body. Do you remember the gameplay trail that was going to be what Silent Hills was?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like that looked cool, you know, that but at the same time loads of different things were happening. He was progressing, he was then getting chased by something, he was then going to a different room. All this stuff was happening over and over again. So it felt like it was like what Silent Hill was. It was going back to how you were moving onwards at all times, where you were experiencing the one thing, but then you didn't have to experience it again. Kind of like in, say, Silent Hill 2, where the first thing you see is the little straitjacket monster kind of like wandering around in the shadows and it disappears. But then it doesn't just kill you then. You then move onwards and you see it then, and you get to overcome it and kill it, and then more stuff happens. And that's kind of like what PT's after concept was going to be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I love PT, but as a demo.
Yeah.
And not as a game, as a demo.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, I thought PT was pretty great for the most part. Again, yeah, definitely you couldn't have sold it for sure. But I think it did. I think it was a better horror game than a lot of horror games for the most part. Like, especially
in this day and age.
Yeah, especially the majority of them, because again, it captured what a lot of them seem to miss, and that's this kind of obviously inevitable doom, but what is kind of the journey to that, and creating this experience, and also just the severity of how scary it fucking was. It was insane. It was
terrifying.
Yeah, it was absolutely like despicable in a lot of ways. Especially when you actually analyze the story and get to the subject matter. It's fucked up. It's really fucking.
I mean,
it's really
the cool
strange.
thing that it had though was that even though you did rinse repeat in that demo, it had that feeling of that things are happening differently each time you do it.
That was the gimmick, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of one of those cool things where, like, I mean, this is all wishful thinking. Where when Silent Hills would have came out, does that mean that every single time you played it, or each time that maybe something different happened, and maybe that's what they were hinting at? That maybe each rinse repeat was a new experience, and that it gave you more reasons to play it again and again and again. And so it's an exciting concept that we'll probably never see.
Actually, and that's why a lot of people speculate that's why it's called Silent Hills as well. There was the whole I'm sure I'm the real me. Are you sure you're the real you, or whatever? Like, there's a lot of speculation that game was going to be something unprecedented in terms of what was going to be achieved there. And it's a real fucking shame it's not going to be made. So there you go. R.I.P. Silent Hills.
We got our pachinko machines now, thanks to Konami. Got more pachinko machines.
Yeah, there you go. Hashtag fuck Konami. There you go. Nailed it. All right. That seems like an appropriate time to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been the Singularity podcast for today. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel and go follow us all on the Twitter sphere. But before we go, we're going to do some, absolutely shameless plugging. And it's going to be great. So, Josh, you're up first. What you got?
Look out for some really, really awesome Warhammer Vermintide beta gameplay coming out this week.
Ooh.
I've been so excited to play this. Main reason being that I love Warhammer, and now that the license is going on to all of these different developing studios, we're now seeing all these different types of games, and it looks to be a Warhammer in a Left 4 Dead kind of scenario, which is so cool. And so I cannot wait to play that beta. I can't wait to record that footage with some commentary and show you that during the week. That's going to be awesome.
Nice. Sick. Alexis?
Cool. Not too much going on in my world. I was thinking about getting back into streaming just a little bit. So if you want to, I have no schedule at all.
What's your Twitch?
So, Lexi_Inc.
Yeah, we need to do that. We need to do that lesson for you, don't we? I need to show you how to do it.
Yeah, we got to schedule that little how to work OBS thing.
Basically, I'm a boss when it comes to streaming.
Yeah,
so, that's what I'm saying.
Teach me all the tips and
tricks. Were you using XSplit before?
Oh, I tried
no,
XSplit
I was
recently.
just using my Elgato, and I wasn't doing any sort of
Noob.
face.
Yeah, you don't want to use Elgato.
No.
It's OBS.
Whatever.
OBS and Elgato. You want to mix it together.
Nailed it. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow my stuff, go on the Twitter sphere, hit me up, and chuck me a follow there, and you'll find all my content through there. I pretty much shamelessly whore it out pretty much all the time, so I'm sure you'll love that, of course. But I also tweet some funny stuff every... maybe once every month. I don't know. It's few and far between.
It's a gem.
Yeah,
it's a gem.
But it's worth it. Would you say?
Yeah, it's worth the follow for sure.
Thank you, Alexis. I appreciate that. But ladies and gentlemen,
I'll be your friend, not Josh.
That's been the Singularity podcast for today. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Miss you.